Welcome to this week's edition of the Pete Mezzetti Show. I'm your host, Pete Mezzetti. My guest this evening is Patrick Boots, who's the General Manager of Hacker Airwaves Radio. Patrick, welcome. How are you?
I'm very well. Thanks for having me, Pete.
Thanks for coming down, my friend. It's been a while. Usually you and I do this for the podcast, and we do it through Google Meet.
Well, I'm very glad to be here down at VSC TV to be with you today.
Well, thanks for coming down. Thanks for some time. So, Patrick, tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about the radio station.
Well, for starters, I am Patrick Boots, and I started Hacker Airwaves FM 87.7, a low-power radio station in Middletown, Connecticut. Yeah, it's a lovely low-power radio station, only serving that small town, and we broadcast 60s, 70s, and 80s music.
Oh, there you go. Now, how did the idea of the radio station come about?
Well, for a very long time, I was very interested in listening to the radio, and I came to like that era of music. Now it's known as classic hits.
Absolutely.
And in part due to my schooling at Haddam-Killingworth High School, which has an excellent communications department.
Absolutely.
I wanted to start my own radio station. So I got all the stuff together, and over the last couple of years, I did it.
Nice. And how are things going so far?
It's going pretty well at HK High School. We're just finishing up our video productions with the communication departments there.
Absolutely. Now, from what I understand, especially during what's going on in the world, how are things going with the school year?
Well, the school year definitely has changed, and that has even reflected in our video communications courses, that we were doing more field production and audio production, learning how to do stuff on the road, using new equipment, new programs like StreamYard and other programs like that to sort of change our paces and do meetings and other videos with a different set of eyes.
Now, last time you and I met, I believe you were part of the panel that I had on back in December of last year talking about the HK Holiday Show.
Yeah, every year the HK TV Communications Department does produce the Holiday Show to benefit a local nonprofit organization in our community. Yeah. It's been an extreme pleasure to help work on that for the last couple of years, and I'd love to come back and help even more. Now,
how did things go with the Holiday Show this year? How'd they do?
It went actually quite well. Besides all the new regulations, the Nathaniel B. Field Memorial Foundation was an excellent beneficiary to both work with and benefit in Haddam, where the Holiday Show is based, and it was a great show to put on.
Now, tell us a little bit about the Nathaniel B. Field Memorial Foundation.
Well, as the beneficiary of the Holiday Show, they help prevent suicide through mental health awareness and outreach programs both in Haddam and in the other shoreline communities.
Now, you're involved with the foundation, correct?
I've done lots of work both on the radio and outside for the Nathaniel B. Field Foundation.
Okay.
After the Holiday Show, it was a great experience.
Now, as far as what type of programming can people hear on Hacker Airwaves Radio?
Well, on Hacker Airwaves FM 87.7, most of our days are filled with 60s, 70s, and 80s music.
Okay.
We call those timeless classics. So, right. But we also broadcast other programming like old radio dramas like The Adventures of Superman. Okay. Unfortunately, due to that program's vintage, some of the episodes have been lost to history, but we try and keep a very complete log of all those types of episodes. And on Sundays, we actually have community-based programming like the Pete Mezzetti Show in our Sunday night programming block.
We do?
We do.
Did I know that? Yeah, maybe.
Actually, that came out of another idea by the late John Clark, who actually founded another radio station, WCNX AM 1710 in Middletown. And the Sunday night programming block was of that station, and we wanted to continue his tradition.
Absolutely, and you and I have talked off the air and off camera, and the reason that we actually came about the Sunday night block is in memory of John Clark, who was the general manager of WCNX Radio in Middletown and a very special person to Pete Mezzetti, but also to the show. So in memory of John Clark, we have gone ahead and started the Pete Mezzetti Show on Sunday evenings, I believe from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. on Hacker Airwaves Radio,
yeah,
correct?
So that's actually continuing the time slot, and it was actually an incredible pleasure to have worked with John both in radio and at VSC TV.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And John Clark was a wonderful, wonderful person.
Certainly.
Absolutely, absolutely. So as far as when we get back to the station, did you guys do anything with high school sports this year?
Actually, we did. We
You
collaborated with the HKTV Communications Department to produce high school sports programming live. So over the winter sports season, we helped commentate basketball games, both JV and varsity.
Okay.
And we got some student talent as the sportscasters in there, broadcast those games live, and had some statistics and fun times about that. And we have all those shows, and it was actually a very nice time because lots of people weren't allowed in the
That's right.
gymnasium due to CIAC regulations.
Right.
It's actually softened up for spring sports back in the winter.
Yeah.
We might have been the only conduit for those people, so I think that was something that was really heartwarming.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, as far as what made you want to start a low-power radio station?
Well, actually, I teased on it before, but at Haddam Killingworth High School, we have actually an educational access television station. So working with that access station really bit me with the bug for broadcasting. Mr. Chuck Lewis, Miss Kasha Topefenberg, and Mr. Jim Kane at HK really were the top dogs, and I looked up to them even currently for how to continue on with broadcasting, what the right things and the wrong things were to do, and it was their knowledge and wisdom that sort of got me to start this radio station. And doing that with all my experience at HK, I think it's been really rewarding.
And correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it's channel 18.
Yep, in the Valley Shore
Yep.
franchise, HK TV is on channel 18.
That's right.
And Valley Shore Community TV is on channel 19.
That's right.
Yeah, and community media stations like VSC TV, not just in central Middlesex County, but in other locales, I think that they're very important, supporting them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, supporting community media is one of the most important things we can do. Non-commercial radio stations, non-commercial TV stations. Oftentimes, local media outlets, they underserve those communities, and stations like access stations and low-power radio stations can come in and serve the underserved.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you and I have talked off camera and off the air about supporting the local community TV stations because they're very important to what you do and both what I do, because I've been doing this I've been with Valley Shore for over 7 years, and before that I was with Comcast out of Clinton.
Yeah, and your show is one of the staples of our community. I'm very glad to help be offering your content, especially during our Sunday night programming.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I believe Pete Mezzetti also airs during the week as well.
We do like to keep up with our public affairs programming, including your show.
Okay.
Pete Mezzetti's show is one of our favorites, so we do like to air it as frequently as prudent.
I was going to say, when am I on during the week? I don't even know off the top of my head.
During weekdays, it's 5 to 6, matching our Sundays.
Okay. All right. And so what other types of programming do you guys offer besides community affairs shows?
Well, we have our music program, and we have a couple music scheduled shows that are produced across the country by independent producers, low-power radio stations that like to share their content.
Oh, cool.
We have shows that focus on oldies music, doo-wop music, a wide variety, even some newer stuff mixed in. We have excellent programming, and it's all professionally produced, not unlike the community programming. It's all excellent to listen to, and if I wouldn't listen to it, I wouldn't put it on.
There you go. Now, do you produce all of your programming?
No, so actually we do produce some of our programming, like the Hacker Airwaves music blocks, but not it's called syndicated programming.
Sure.
We broadcast. It's often through those non-commercial outlets. It's all excellently produced.
It is. Now, as far as do you guys have commercials, or do you guys have commercials?
So actually, Hacker Airwaves is a non-commercial radio station.
Okay.
So we don't have any commercials, but we do run public service announcements, and we do offer airtime to local nonprofit organizations that desire that. It's a completely free service.
Really?
And actually, once again, John Clark out of WCNX instigated that. It's a great idea, and not to say I stole it, but that was a thing I think we would benefit from as well.
You borrowed it.
That's right.
You borrowed it in memory of John Clark.
Certainly.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And as far as why do you think supporting community media is so important? Let's talk about, let's talk about community media.
Well, community media is one of the most important things a community can have. Not all communities do, but especially even here in Connecticut, we have great local stations like VSC TV and
Absolutely.
low power radio stations that they serve these underserved populations. We were just talking about how we produce high school sports content. I know I wasn't around for it, but in conversation, lots of commercial radio stations or TV stations, they don't really broadcast high school sports. They might not have the time, and I'm not against commercial stations, but I sure like to see my local talent on the air. I like to see my friends, family members on the air. So having a conduit for broadcasting local community events and even with access stations, government meetings, I think that's very important.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So how are things looking up at Haddam-Killingworth High School as far as the school year goes, as far as what's going on, especially during the time of the pandemic that we're currently in?
Well, at HK, we have done a whole lot more of broadcasting productions. We recently broadcasted the spring musical production Working at HK, and that was a great experience to help produce, as well as other sporting events and events that would otherwise have an audience in person in our auditorium or otherwise. We help broadcast those on our access station and on the radio. And we also have been more active in the spring sports as spectator rules have lightened up due to the CIAC guidelines. I help announce for the baseball teams, and I like to go to all of the spring sports events, track and field, lacrosse, to see how they're doing, support our friends, and post on social media. We have the HK Cougar Den, and as Hacker Airwaves and HK Cougar Den are collaborating on Twitter. And we help post and do score updates, statistics, news updates. We work with Zippo6 and other local news organizations to help promote their articles about our spring athletes. And I just think it's a great time, and things are really looking up at HK.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'm sure you being a senior, I'm sure you're looking forward to graduation.
Well, graduation is on track for being a classic in-person graduation. I'm very excited for that. But even last year, we, as broadcasting students, we helped produce a distance graduation with a large projection monitor. And that was actually quite fun.
It was. Patrick, would you mind sticking around for another segment?
I'd love to.
All right, we'll be right back.
With newspapers and media outlets merging all over the country, communities are losing their local voice.
There's so much going on in the community that I think doesn't really, there's a lot of folks who are unaware of it. And I think things like this can bring it out into the community and in that way kind of bring the community together.
Information to our residents is the key to good governance. And with the national media and local media not often covering us, this is an excellent opportunity for us constantly to communicate with our constituents and also to have them communicate with us.
The best outcomes will be achieved through a community-based organization that grows its operation and scale by means of locally produced programming.
All of our content is volunteer produced, so we do shows from talk shows to music shows, working with high schools.
VSC TV is committed to ensuring that the investment made to secure these powerful tools will pay great dividends in the community for many, many years.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Pete Mezzetti Show. Sitting here with Patrick Boots from Hacker Airwaves Radio. Patrick, welcome back.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks for sticking around, my friend. So like we just saw in the PSA break, we were in a public service announcement on supporting community media. Let's talk about community media. Opening up this segment.
Yeah, well, that PSA was excellently produced by VSC TV, one of our local media outlets.
It was.
And even in Middlesex County, VSC TV is there's actually lots more community media centers. I know your show is pretty much statewide.
Absolutely.
So even those people not in Middlesex County, they can support their local community stations like their access stations or their radio stations.
Right.
There's a whole handful of low power radio stations just like Hacker Airwaves, and they need your support as well.
Absolutely.
And one of the best things, if you're interested in broadcasting, to go to your local access station or radio station and work with them. They'll train you properly and get everything in so you can produce your own content if that's how they work.
Right.
Or if you have an idea, starting a podcast or another audio platform or even a YouTube channel online is one of the best things someone interested could do.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think Pete Mezzetti's on a podcast out there somewhere in the world.
That's right.
At least a couple.
Many people have podcasts, and your show in its audio form is delivered as a podcast.
That's right.
Even not just streaming radio like Hacker Airwaves on its webpage, terrestrial radio, podcasts, you can visit them on demand.
Right.
Even TV stations now with on-demand platforms, it's been said multiple times, we no longer have to be appointment viewers.
That's right.
So to have your content available pretty much whenever you want it,
right.
It's something that's, I think it's one of those things like from the Jetsons that are here to stay for good.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, are you seeking new music to add to your playlist?
Well, us at Hacker Airwaves, we're looking to grow our music as big as we can.
Really?
We're getting our music library in the thousands. That's just our classic hits programming. But those listening, we actually have bands that come in from the Shoreline Music Monthly program. We have some of those bands that we're working with to get their music on the air here. If you're a local musician, or if you're even a musician out in a place just listening, you can always send in music. We love to grow our playlists.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, as far as how involved in the community is Hacker Airwaves Radio 87.7 FM?
Well, we actually participate in a variety of community events.
Okay.
Even although some community events have slowed down within the last year, we're trying to get our gears back up. Not only with HK High School and supporting their community events, but also outside in not just Haddam and Killingworth, but in the whole Valley Shore and in Middletown. So we are looking to participate in even more car shows and other events. We've worked with the Lions Club to broadcast some of their events live. They have a rubber duck race that we're helping out with this year coming up. And I think that participating in community events, getting to know the people who listen to your station, the people who might be able to, potential listeners, and people in your community, I think that's very important.
Absolutely, and you know as well as I do how important it is to get out, especially now, get out there in the community and support your local nonprofit organization.
Yeah, I think supporting even local nonprofit organizations, it's very important. It's one of the best things that they are here to support you, and if you support them right back, it's going to be a whole barrel of monkeys of love. It's going to be one of the best things that people can do is find out what sort of outreach programs are available in the community, see if they can help out if they can. And nowadays with the internet and social media, it's become a lot easier. I know on our local access station, we have the community bulletin board that has messages going out.
Sure. It's
one of the things, just get involved.
Right. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Because especially Pete Mezzetti and the Pete Mezzetti Show, we love to get out in the community and support your local nonprofit organization, and especially the stations like Valley Shore Community Television. They've just been very wonderful to work with since I first started the show. Chris, Christy, Patrick, you, and as for everybody else who's filled in as far as the show goes, everybody else is just very welcoming and very wonderful. So you also might want to get out there and support your local public access station.
Yeah, I mean, even with what I've been learning, Chris and Christy and Max and Mr. Lewis at VSCTV, they've taught me a lot of what I know. And
absolutely.
I would definitely not be in the place that I am with Hacker Airwaves that I am today without them.
Oh, God, I wouldn't be sitting here as Pete Mezzetti if it wasn't for Chris, Christy, and everybody here at Valley Shore. But before that, I was with Comcast out of Clinton, and that's first off what got my feet wet.
Yeah, and like I was saying before, if people are interested in broadcasting, one of the best things to do, just like you said, is get your feet wet, even if it's starting a podcast on your cell phone. That's a great start, and consider the following. If you start that way, you can grow your audience of listeners or viewers or other media consumers. Get on your local access station if you live in those franchises. Get on your local radio station or support internet distribution methods. Absolutely. And get all of those out there. It's just one of the best things that people can do to share the love.
Absolutely. Now, as far as podcast platforms, what are the most popular?
Well, in terms of streaming media, there's a whole mixed bag of fruit. Podcast platforms, Spotify has both music streaming and podcasts now. Google has music streaming and podcasts.
Yep.
Stitcher and Amazon have podcast platforms in addition to audiobooks, I believe.
Okay.
And most often people may publish what's called an RSS feed link, and that's actually how they distribute those podcasts.
Right.
So Most cell phones and computers can read that type of file, add that to your downloads list, and every week or day or month, whenever they distribute that podcast or audio platform, you'll download it and you can consume it pretty much whenever you'd like.
Absolutely, especially probably this show will be downloaded to the RSS feed log probably within the next couple hours or maybe a couple days.
Yep, and Hacker Airwaves, we actually offer the audio downloads archive for all of our produced programming and select programming like yours that people are allowed to download. We have all of our past sports broadcasts on there. We have Pete Mezzetti's show. We have a couple other interest programming on there. And if people would rather not listen on the live broadcast radio station, then they can download the files. It's pretty much easy to listen. They can pause it, rewind it, go eat dinner, have a snack, come back, whatever they'd like to do.
Really? I did not know that.
Yep, it's available on our webpage.
Oh, very nice, very nice. Now, if people want more information on the website, where can they go?
Well, if you'd like to listen or gain more information on Hacker Airwaves FM 87.7, our webpage is www.hackerairwaves.net. And you can also add that to your home screen or bookmark it if you want to listen frequently. There's a nice big Listen Live button.
Absolutely. Now, as far as if people would like to, well, we just talked about if people want to listen to Hacker Airwaves FM 87.7 and find out more, where can they go? Obviously, go to the website, but as far as website content, what can people find?
Well, on our webpage, we have our live player, like I mentioned. We also have our news feed, which has all of our sports scores update as they happen, and Twitter updates, so that'll be on there. People can download past shows, like our sports broadcasting and your show. They can also contact us or support us. And if you're a musician or an otherwise listener, we appreciate all the content and feedback and concerns about our station. Always trying to make it better and serve our local communities.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Now let's actually let's go back to, as far as local programming goes, what types of local programming do you guys offer?
Well, as terms of locally produced program, we have, as we mentioned, the Pete Mezzetti Show.
Right.
We also have a couple health programs produced by Middletown, and we have a recycling program actually that we've recently just acquired from Middletown and their recycling center about proper ways to recycle and get on with the ways to recycle. We also, HK students have produced some of their program that we're going to broadcast their music taste as well, get a little mix in there, and it's not just a classic hits radio station; it's an everyone station.
Absolutely, it's a community station.
That's right.
Say. It is a community station, and like you said, let's talk about let's recap it of when is Pete Mezzetti on.
Well, we also broadcast the Pete Mezzetti Show. It's on weekdays from 5 to 6 p.m.
Right.
And we broadcast the Pete Mezzetti Show during our Sunday night programming block from 5 to 6 p.m.
And that is in memory of our friend John Clark, who was the station manager and general manager of WCNX Radio, who passed away recently of pancreatic cancer. So that's in memory of John.
Yeah, he was an excellent man to work with, and I'm very glad to have known him and continue on the legacy.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. It's because of John and Judy. When I first started my show, John actually ran the first couple editions of the Pete Mezzetti Show on the station, and gave me the ability to get my feet wet.
I think that's very grand. I like that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, John Clark was a very genuine man, and the other station we actually have to mention in the Middletown area is Gene Gums with Sports Country Radio.
That's right. Sports Country Radio, they've done excellent sports broadcasting, and they also have the country music programming.
That's right.
Now, how the sports season worked out, oftentimes games were happening at another school at the same time at HK. So listeners may not have been able to listen in one ear and the other about both stations.
Right.
But Gene Gums and Sports Country, they do excellent programming, and they've been doing it a lot longer than I have.
Absolutely. And by the way, Gene Gums in Sports Country.
Yes.
Pete Mezzetti Saturday night at 6 o'clock.
That's right. Yeah.
I think. Yeah, that is right.
We share the love.
That's right. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And Pete Mezzetti shares the love back to all of the radio stations, all the community-based radio stations that share the love with Pete Mezzetti, also with Comcast down here at Valley Shore, and all the other network affiliates of the Pete Mezzetti Show as well.
Yeah, it's a wide network, and the community keeps getting bigger.
Oh my God, it is gonna get bigger. I don't know which is gonna get bigger a lot quicker, Pete Mezzetti's show or Pete Mezzetti's head.
Oh well, I think the show may.
Yeah,
maybe first.
I would say the show as well. Again, if people want more information on Hacker Airwaves Radio, where are we going?
Well, if you'd like to listen or gain more information, hackerairwaves.net is our webpage. And you can get a live broadcast link. You can listen into our station. We have audio downloads and our news feed. It's a place you can always keep bookmarked if you would like.
Now, how easy is it to download in addition of your favorite content from the site?
Downloading from our audio downloads archive is easy as long pressing and selecting save.
Wow, it's that easy.
Or right-clicking and selecting save.
There you go. Right-clicking, left-clicking, who knows? Who knows? Well, Patrick, we're about to run out of time, but before we do, I want to thank you for coming down, and hopefully we'll have you on again soon.
Yeah, thanks so much for inviting me, Pete.
Thanks, Patrick. On behalf of Patrick Boots, I'm Pete Mezzetti. Thanks, good night, and we'll see you next time.